Stephanie here from Shevelkin Designs, and this is part 2 of how to crochet my granny square sweater. So now that you know your measurements and hopefully you've picked out your yarn colors and how many yarn colors you're going to do, go ahead and grab them and grab your 6mm hook and let's get started. Now, if you don't already know how to do a magic circle, I'll go ahead and I'll put the link up at the top for you, up one of these sides. I'll put the link in there so you can see the video on how to do that. Otherwise, you can also do a chain 4, connect that to create a circle, but I use a magic circle. So if you need help with doing a magic circle, go ahead and click on that video and you can watch that. And let's go ahead and get started. I'm super excited. Once you have your magic circle made or your ring made in however way, either doing a chain 4 or a magic circle, you're going to have a chain 1 or you can do a chain 2 depending on what you prefer. I prefer to do a chain 1, and then you're going to start doing your clusters. Each cluster is made up of 3 double crochets with two chains in between each cluster. So your first round is going to have 4 clusters. So let's go ahead and start doing our first one, and we're going to go into the circle, pull up the yarn over, and do a double crochet, yarn over. There's our first double crochet, second, third, and that is our first cluster. So now we're going to do a chain 2, 1, 2, because that is a corner, and we'll start our second cluster. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, 3 double crochet, chain 2. We're going to just do 2 more clusters like this. So a total of 4 clusters all together. There's 1, 2, 3. I like to scoot them next to each other more. Chain 2. 1, 2, 3, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4 clusters, chain 2. Now we're going to connect them, so I'm going to pull and close up my circle, pull my tail to close it, all the way tight. There we go. So now that is nice and tight, and you can see our little corner right there. Here's a corner, and this will be a corner there. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into that first double crochet. So 1, 2, here's the first one. I'm going to go into that and slip stitch. I'm going to continue to slip stitch all the way to this next corner. And if you're switching yarns, then I like to switch in this in the third double crochet. So I will show you. Let me get my next color handy really quick. Yep, okay. So then you're going to slip stitch into the second double crochet. So that's our second. Now here's the third, so I'm going to go into it just like I'm going to normally do a slip stitch. But I'm going to grab my color, my second color, pull that through, and then slip stitch, go through the yellow as well. So now I have the 2 colors, and at this point, I like to knot my colors together just so that they're secure and not going to go anywhere. So bear with me as I do that really quick. And then I work over them, and then I weave them in later on. And I like to weave in my ends as I go. That's just how I like to do things, but you can weave in however you like to weave in. But now I'm switched to the orange, so I'm going to grab my 2 tails, and I'm going to go into this corner space with my hook, and I'm going to grab my orange yarn, slip stitch. Now I'm going to take the tails and I'm going to pull them tight. Grab my yarn, and I'm going to do, I'm going to do a chain 1. And you can do a chain 1 or chain 2. I like to do, depending on how I'm working it, I like to do either a chain 1 or a chain 2, but I do not count it as a stitch. So I'll do a chain 2 to give myself height, and then I continue to do our clusters. So I'm still going to do 3 double crochets. This chain 2 does not count as a stitch for me. I know some people like to count that, and that is perfectly fine. You can go ahead and do that if you wish. I do not. So there's my first double crochet, second, third, and then because this is a corner, I'm going to do chain 2. I'm going to go ahead and do the second cluster in this corner. So there's 1 double crochet, 2, and 3. Now I'm going to chain 1 and go into this corner over here. And do 2 clusters with a chain 2 in between them. So there's my first, chain 2, start my second, 1, 2, 3. Now I do a chain 1 and I go into this next corner. 1, 2, 3, chain 2 because it's a corner. Start my second cluster. 2, 3, chain 1 and go into this next corner. 1, 2, 3, rotate it, chain 2, and do my last 1, 2, 3. So now I can go ahead and slip stitch into this first double crochet. And again, I'm going to slip stitch into the second. And because I'm changing yarns in this third one, I am going to go ahead and grab my next color yarn. And again, at this point, I like to tie them off. I also like to go ahead and cut my yarn, and usually I would weave them in because I do not like to have all the ends to weave in at the end. I like to do them as I'm working, so I'm not too like overwhelmed with all my ends. But that's just me. You can do them however you please. So I'm gonna go ahead and knot these. Oops, that didn't work. Here we go. And then as I go into this third one, pull this guy. Slip stitch, I'm sorry, chain. And then I can continue to go doing my clusters. So you just keep continuously going around doing the clusters into every space. So one here, one here, one in this corner, side, corner, side, corner. And as you go, it's going to increase. Each round is going to add on an extra one. So just remember that every corner has 2 chains and every in between has 1 chain. 2, 3, so chain 1. Now to go into the corner. 1, 2, 3. Now chain 2 because we're in that corner. And do our second cluster. 2, 3. Now we're going into here, so it's going to be a chain 1. Double crochet, double crochet. And that's what's so fun about working these granny squares is they work up relatively quick. Chain 1. Now we're going into the corner here. So we'll do our 2 clusters. Chain 2 because we're in that corner, and I rotate. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and we're going into the center one. 2, 3, chain 1 into our corner. 1, 2, 3, chain 2 because we're in a corner, and I rotate. 1, 2, 3, chain 1. Now we're going into this middle one. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and now I slip stitch into this first right here, double crochet, and I'm going to slip stitch all the way. Because I'm changing colors, I'm going to get my second color ready. Oops. Cut my orange. Okay. Grab my yarn, leave myself a good tail. Slip stitch. Grab my tails. Slip stitch. Chain 2. Cut my yarn. Give it a knot. And I'm sorry. There we go. Now I can continue on doing this color. So there's my first double crochet, second, third, chain 2, scoot that over, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and now going into this space here. So see how it has increased. We started with the 4, and then we went up to the 1, and it added a space. So then we added 1 to there. So now this one has 2 spaces, and we're going to keep working into these spaces, and it just keeps increasing and increasing. And again, depending on what size you're doing or working up to, is going to depend on how many rounds or rows you are going to be making. So I'm doing 19 because I know that that gives me the size that I'm looking for. And that's like an oversized medium. I like it to be baggy and hang off the shoulder. So 3, chain 1, and now I'm going into this corner space. Chain 2, rotate. Chain 1, go into the next space. Chain 1, chain 1, and now we're going to this corner. So now we're going to do our 2 clusters. Chain 2, rotate. Chain 1, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 2, 3, chain 2, rotate, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, and last one, 1, 2, 3, chain 1. Again, slip stitch into that first, double crochet, slip stitch into the second, and if you're changing colors, I do it in this third one. But for right now, let's just look at it. It's kind of hard to see with all the tails. Like I said, I normally weave all those in already, but there we go. There's our granny square, and I will continue to do the yellow, orange, cream, burgundy, whatever color, pomegranate this is, and keep working my way out until I have my 19 rounds. So I will meet you back when I am done with my 19, and we can talk about the next step.
the dark. It's a 16 buff in the dark. It's a 16 buff.
Okay, so here is my 19 rounds, and as you see, it's ending on a cream, which I do not want to end on a cream, so I'm going to go ahead and add on a round 20 to end on the pomegranate color. Okay, so here is 20 rounds, and I am ending on the pomegranate, and that's exactly what I want. So there we go. That's the completed granny square. Okay, guys, so here is my finished granny square. This is the first one done. And I went ahead and did 20 rounds. So I ended on this pomegranate color. And that is giving me a measurement of 21 inches across evenly through the middle. Ugh, there we go. So from this point to this point is 21 inches. That is not stretched. That is just laying flat. Yes, so it's a little bit larger and I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm interested in seeing what a size large would be. Now, because that's not stretched, once I block it and steam it, and that I will stretch it. So then that'll add on a couple extra inches, which will probably be making this into a size large, maybe a large / extra large, depending. We'll see. But I'm going to make all 4 of my granny squares exactly the same. So this can be the front panel, and then I'll have a back panel, and then I'll have one sleeve and another sleeve. So that is all 4 pieces to the sweater. Now, if you do not want your sleeves to be as long, maybe you want your sleeves a little bit shorter, then depending on what size you're doing, then you might want to make 2 of them, one for each sleeve, a little bit smaller. And in doing so would be not making the granny square as large. So a way to just test it out would be as you're making it, once you have your front panel and your back panel completed, laying them down on top of each other. And then as you're making your sleeve, you can always put it up or lay it down next to it and give measurements to see if you're hitting the measurements that you want for your sleeve. And then just continuing to get to the point that you want it to be. So I think that's one of the greatest things about this sweater, is that it's so, you can adjust it and make it how you want it to make it. There's no set way. But if you do want to make it the way that I did, all 4 parts are exactly the same for me. And then once I lay them all out and I've steamed and blocked them and they've dried, then I lay them out and seam them together. And once I seam them together, then I go back in and I do the edging, the collar and the cuffs and the bottom border ribbing. And I'll show you how to do all of that as well. So for I'm going to say at least the next week, I'm going to be working on completing all 4 of the granny squares. And then I will make a part 3. In part 3, I will show you how I have all 4 of them are completed, how I lay them out, how I block them. And then maybe part 4, I'll do showing you how I seam them all together. Or maybe that'll be part 3, and then part 4 would be just the ribbing and the last section of how to do the ribbing once you have everything seamed together. So I will see you guys in about a week once we all have our granny square pieces done and we're ready to block them and or put them together and start seaming. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week. If you have any questions or comments, concerns, anything like that, please comment, let me know. I would be more than happy to help in any way that I can. So I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a good one. Thanks.